Welcome to being an alt-link at Alter. This is our series, and we're really excited about it, where we dig into the core values that make Alter's culture so unique.
It's true. Alter's vision is strong, and what really makes us stand out is our incredible culture.
Right, and when I say culture, I mean it's built on these core values that we all, try to live by every day.
Exactly. And when we all truly embrace these values, it just amplifies our culture, makes it even stronger.
It really does. And that strong culture, it's not just some fluffy feel-good thing. It's at the heart of everything we do.
Yeah.
It's how we collaborate better, how we come up with fresh ideas, and ultimately, how we achieve more together as one powerful team.
Yeah, when we're all on the same page, magic happens, right?
Totally. So with this series, we're going deep, really deep, into these essential values. We want to understand what it truly means to bring them to life in our daily work.
I love that. Bringing them to life, that's what it's all about. Not just talking the talk, but walking the walk.
Exactly. And today, we're kicking things off with a value that's so crucial, especially in our industry: adaptability. Everything's changing so rapidly that being able to evolve, embrace change, and stay flexible is like non-negotiable.
Could not agree more. You got to be able to roll with the punches in this business.
Right. And within this big idea of adaptability, we're going to zero in on one specific aspect today. It's the principle of, and get ready for this, I assess and adjust my approach when something isn't working.
Now, that's a mouthful, but it's so important. It's like the foundation of being adaptable.
Absolutely. So let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like, in action here at Alter?
Okay, so at its core, it's about recognizing, being aware of when what you're doing isn't getting you the results you're aiming for. That moment where you're like, something's off here.
Right, that light bulb moment.
Exactly. But the key is what you do next. Are you willing to switch gears, to change course?
So it's not just about noticing the problem, it's about taking action, right?
100%. Can you give us a real-world example, something our alt links can really connect with?
Sure, let's talk about something everyone here deals with: paid ad campaigns. Say the performance team launches a campaign, everyone's super excited about it, but, after a couple of weeks, the conversions just aren't there. They're way lower than expected.
Okay, I've been there. What happens next?
Well, someone who's not so adaptable might just, I don't know, keep doing the same thing, hoping it'll magically turn around.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that happen. Hope is not a strategy.
But an alt link, someone who embodies this value, they do something different. They'd get curious. They'd start investigating.
They'd become detectives almost.
Right. They'd dive into the data. They'd look at which audiences aren't responding, where the clicks are coming from, and why those clicks aren't turning into conversions. They'd even analyze the ad copy and the visuals.
So instead of just looking at the surface, they go deeper.
Exactly. And based on what they find, they'd adjust. Maybe they'd tweak the audience targeting, try new ad creatives, even change the call to action. And you know what? We've seen this kind of data-driven adjustment lead to like a 40% increase in engagement.
Wow, that's a huge jump.
It is. And it shows the power of assessing and adjusting, of not just letting things run on autopilot.
It's about taking control and making informed decisions. Love it.
Me too. What stands out to you about that approach?
For me, it's that it transforms what could be a failure into a learning experience. You're not pointing fingers, you're figuring out how to do things better.
That's a great point. It's about progress, not blame.
And once you've got a handle on the problem, you've identified it, the next part of adjusting is, testing out different solutions.
So it's about trying different things.
Yeah, it's not always about finding that one perfect solution right away. It might mean testing a few different approaches to see what works best. Like, A/B testing different versions of a landing page.
Ah, good old A/B testing.
Exactly. Or maybe your team's workflow is getting stuck, so you try a completely new process. Or perhaps a creative concept just isn't resonating, so you explore different visuals, different messaging. The key is being proactive, trying things out until you find something that clicks.
Okay, I like that. So trial and error, but with like a purpose.
Yes, informed trial and error.
Do you have an example of how someone at Alter has used this kind of experimentation?
Sure. Let's say you have a graphic designer, and they keep getting tons of revisions on their social media designs. Instead of just reacting to each revision, they decide to be proactive.
I see where you're going with this.
Right. They might start by using mood boards to get everyone on the same page visually from the very beginning, or they might start sharing early drafts for feedback before spending hours on the full design. We actually had a case where this approach led to a 50% drop in revision requests.
That's incredible. It's like prevention is better than cure.
It is. It's about being efficient, proactive, and making everyone's lives easier.
It sounds like this isn't just about reacting to big problems. It's also about making small adjustments along the way.
You got it. It's about being agile, being responsive in real time. You see something's not working, you don't wait for it to blow up, you make adjustments on the fly.
Like a pilot making small course corrections.
Exactly.
Okay.
Perfect analogy. Imagine, let's say, a product launch relies heavily on organic reach on Instagram. Then boom, an algorithm update hits and organic reach plummets.
Oh, I've seen that happen too many times.
Right. Now, a team that's not adaptable, they'll just keep posting and hope for the best. But a team that embodies this value, they'll assess the situation, the impact of the algorithm change, and they'll change their game plan. Maybe they'll shift their focus to paid promotions, or maybe they'll partner with some influencers to make sure their message still gets out there.
It's about being quick on your feet, adapting to the changing landscape.
That's it. And that kind of nimbleness, it requires being open to change. You can't be so attached to one way of doing things that you refuse to change, even when it's not working anymore.
You have to be willing to let go of what's familiar, what's comfortable.
Totally. Because what worked yesterday might not work today. Take, for example, a content writer who's always written these long, in-depth blog posts. They've been successful, but they start noticing people are more into videos, short-form content.
Shorter attention spans these days. Right?
Could be. But the point is, an adaptable writer, they won't just keep churning out those long blogs. They'll recognize the shift, and they'll be willing to learn new skills. Maybe they'll take a script writing course. Maybe they'll work with the video team. Maybe they'll find ways to repurpose their blog content into shorter videos.
They're adapting their skills to what the audience wants.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key element. Learning. Continuous learning is so important for being adaptable.
It's like always be learning, always be growing.
Yes. Every challenge, every time something doesn't go as planned, it's a chance to learn. It's about taking the time to analyze what went wrong, but also what went right, what worked, what didn't. It helps you improve, get better every time.
It's about building on your experiences, the good and the bad.
Exactly. Imagine our business development team gives this amazing sales pitch. They put in so much effort, but they don't close the deal. An adaptable team, they wouldn't just shrug it off and move on. They'd sit down, debrief, analyze what the client's objections were.
Get that feedback and use it.
Right. And then they'd refine their approach, their presentation, everything to improve their chances of success next time.
It sounds like collaboration plays a big role here too.
Huge role. Adaptability isn't about doing everything solo. The best solutions often come from working together, getting different perspectives, brainstorming.
It's that whole two heads are better than one thing.
For sure. Like, let's say a motion graphics artist is stuck on an animation sequence. They're getting frustrated. Instead of struggling alone, they could reach out to the design team, make sure the visuals are on point, and then check in with the copy team, make sure the animation supports the message. That kind of collaboration, it often leads to a much stronger final product.
Okay, so we've talked about what it means to assess and adjust. Now let's flip the script. What does it not mean to be adaptable? What are some of the warning signs, the red flags?
Oh, there are a few. One of the biggest ones is ignoring red flags. If your data is telling you something's wrong, if you're getting feedback that something's not working, you can't just ignore it.
It's like ignoring that check engine light.
Exactly. You're just asking for trouble. Think about an email campaign with super low open rates. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
If you just keep using the same subject lines, the same sending times without trying to figure out why people aren't opening your emails, that's a problem.
You're not adapting, you're just like hoping for the best.
Exactly. Another big one is resisting change because you're comfortable with how things are. Sticking with familiar methods, even when they're not working anymore, that's a recipe for getting stuck.
Comfort zones can be dangerous, right?
They can be. Think about a project manager who refuses to use a new project tracking tool because they're so used to their old spreadsheets. That resistance, it can create all sorts of inefficiencies.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I bet waiting too long to make changes is also a mistake.
Oh, huge mistake. Being proactive is key. If you wait until a problem becomes a crisis, it's much harder to fix. It's like, let's say a major client keeps expressing concerns, but the team doesn't address them until the client's ready to walk away. That's waiting way too long.
It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. And it's also about not just blaming external factors. It's easy to say, oh, the market's bad or it's the algorithm's fault. But true adaptability means focusing on what you can control.
So taking responsibility, owning it.
Yes. A campaign might be underperforming. But instead of just blaming the economy, an adaptable team will dig deeper. They'll look at their audience targeting, their messaging, their creatives. They'll try to find ways to improve.
They're not just throwing their hands up in the air.
Exactly. And another thing to avoid is being resistant to new ideas, to innovation. If you shut down every new idea, every new tool, you're going to fall behind.
You got to be open to trying new things.
Definitely. Think about a video editor who refuses to learn AI-powered editing tools. They're comfortable with their old ways, but those tools could make them so much more efficient.
They're missing out on potential breakthroughs.
Exactly. And finally, and this is a big one, you have to learn from your experiences, both the good and the bad. If you don't, you're going to keep making the same mistakes.
It's like repeating the same class and failing the same test.
Ouch, but true. Like, if a client keeps asking for last-minute changes because they didn't see a preview of the work early on, and the team doesn't change their process to include those early check-ins, they're setting themselves up to repeat that mistake.
So it's about learning and growing from each experience.
Exactly. Okay, so big picture. Today we've really dug into this first foundational piece of adaptability here at Alter. I assess and adjust my approach when something isn't working.
We've explored what it means, what it doesn't mean, and we've seen some real examples.
And what we've learned is that being adaptable at Alter means recognizing when things aren't working, figuring out why, and then trying different solutions. It's about being proactive, open to change, and willing to learn from every experience, good or bad. And it's about working together, collaborating to find the best solutions.
And it's about avoiding those pitfalls we talked about. Ignoring red flags, sticking with what's comfortable, waiting too long to act, blaming everything on external factors, rejecting new ideas, and not learning from our mistakes.
Spot on. So as you go about your work here at Alter, think about how you can embrace this idea of assess and adjust.
Because when we're all adaptable, we become a stronger, more innovative, and more successful team.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And this is just the beginning. We're going to keep exploring adaptability and all of Alter's core values in our upcoming discussions.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.